Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where today I'm joined by James Sikura. So welcome, James.
Hello. How are you? Oh, I should be in a podcast. I'm way idiot. Okay.
Hey, that's okay because they can watch. They're going to watch this on YouTube. So you're
there. We go.
Yeah,
that part of the audience will get it. Right.
Perfect. So really appreciate you coming on because we've had. I think this is our fourth attempt. We've had to reschedule 3 times, and you hung in there the whole time. So you're either just a really nice guy or really bored.
I should do full disclosure up front. I'm Canadian, so that's explained. I don't know, right? People say it as a joke. A Canadian bumps into an inanimate object and apologizes, but it is completely true.
Yeah,
I do it all the time. So yeah, but I'm so happy to be on here. I'm thrilled to do this. This is my first time in this format. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we're happy to be your first show. I'm sure it's the first podcast of many, although none of them will do as well. This is the one.
Mm-hmm.
First time's the charm.
Right? By the way, for the record, I don't think there's any such thing as too opinionated.
No.
So
no, there's not. That's exactly right. That's exactly, especially in this day and age. You know, everybody's too opinionated.
Right? Exactly.
You're welcome to any opinion as long as it's mine.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, James, so let's start with, introduce yourself a little bit and kind of talk about, what it is that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is James J. Sikura, and I'm former longtime development head for Evans at Paramount. And for those who aren't familiar, it is not the steakhouse guy. It is a steakhouse, right? Bob Evans. Not him. The Robert Evans, Chinatown, The Godfather, Paramount Pictures. So that is the majority of my CV. I started working with him right out of college. Did that until his passing last year. And I've been moving on with independent projects ever since. So I've been finishing out his final projects and then putting together some of my own. So I made the trajectory down from Canada to LA via film school, naturally, but did that and then was working for Bob and just kind of dove right in. So amazing. It's awesome. Kind of like, it's surreal to me when I think about it, because it's sort of like I ended up working for the man who's the whole reason I wanted to be in film in the first place.
Right. Oh, that's awesome right there.
So, yeah, I was wanting to say if ever anything went wrong, I would say to him, well, you're the reason I am here. So this aggravation is solely on you. But yeah, it was pretty surreal. And, looking at your background there, another thing was like, I never thought, told the childhood version of myself, be working with Stan Lee one day, my mind would have been blown. But
we have to talk a little about that.
First thing, dove right in, and we were collaborating on a project with Stan Lee, and I was like, that was surreal enough, Robert Evans, Stan Lee, but to be a part of it. Yeah, and unfortunately that didn't go, but it was like just to be in the room with these people, be involved in that decision-making process. That was cool.
Yeah, that's I've been lucky. I used to be a comic book store owner back in the 90s.
Oh, cool.
And we travel around, do a lot of conventions back when conventions were just, comic book artists, writers, and fans. There was no celebrity involvement. It's much bigger, no cosplay, anything like that. But Stan Lee was a regular that would show up. And back then, 30 years ago, you could actually have conversations with him. You could go up and he could spend a few minutes with you. And of course, over time, he became such a big, star. If you went to a show, you'd stand in line for hours and you might get 10 or 15 seconds for him to sign something and it was moving on. So I always felt fortunate with that, but to actually get to sit in a room and collaborate with him, that's really amazing.
Yeah. That was super cool. And but it's interesting what you just hit on, because comic conventions, so many types of things. It's like there was a level of accessibility to people.
Yeah.
Not just celebrities, but creators, these people, and like some of them become these ubiquitous, like pop culture figures, right?
Right.
And then it's incredible. But yeah, no, interesting stuff. But yeah, people like that, just to and speaking of horror movies, we were talking earlier, The Exorcist, one of my all-time favorites. I could never get over that when I saw it as a kid. Nothing. It was like I could try any kind of therapy, primal scream, whatever, probably wouldn't work. The only thing that got it out of me was when I was in film school at Chapman. By Chapman, great school, big mad props. They brought Billy Friedkin in, to show the movie and do a Q&A. He got up there, just seeing him speak and having that sort of tangible thing about, not to mention the fact that he's a great speaker. It's almost a stand-up act, but it was like, okay, fine, I can get over that. But yeah, just sort of being near or involved with people that sort of like were very meaningful to me in the past and still are. Super cool. So,
well, is that what, you know, caused you to want to get into the entertainment business? You just had that affinity when you were younger with certain individuals, and you said that's what I want to do?
Yeah, I blame my parents, actually. I blame my parents because they were very lackadaisical with censorship, lack of censorship.
Yeah.
My father didn't care, and my mom, being a television background, she was a news anchor, a product of the 1960s. She said, no, I'm not, can do whatever he wants, not going to prevent him. He can see all the great. So I watched, you know, everything I could get my hands on. I was just immediately enthralled by film. But the thing, I'll try to keep this short, but basically, since we were talking about, you know, movies of this sort of ilk and like pop culture touchstones, the movie that really got me into wanting to do this was Star Wars, of course. Yeah. But it was interesting the way I found out about it. Yeah, because I had never seen the movie. It was sort of out of style by the time I was growing. I'd never seen it. And every year for the summer, I vacationed somewhere so remote. There was no running water. It was a cabin, Eastern Canada. It was like idyllic, just would imagine, you know, it to be. But we had no TV. We had nothing. It was really sort of like you had 2 months. As a kid, you had to use your imagination. So we were there just killing time. And my older cousin, he said to me, he said, Jay, have you ever seen Star Wars? And of course, only the original trilogy was out at the time. I said, no. He said, well, let me tell you about it. Well, he took the entire afternoon and he acted out and told me the 3 movies.
Oh, that's great.
He was doing the lightsaber battles, Hoth, everything. And I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to get back to the city and find Star Wars. And I did. It was hard. I had to get it from a gas station video rack. It was like 15 years old, but I got it, watched it, and I was hooked. So that was kind of how I fell into it. And then everything around then, it was just like, I always say that movie, gateway drug.
That's right.
Like, oh, now that I've seen Star Wars, what else is like this? I go to the video store. Oh, Blade Runner, that looks like Star Wars. 2001, Dune, okay. And then suddenly that, you know, it spirals out of control.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really does. Yeah, I could totally see where that would kind of pull you in. So when you got to, or when you got out of film school, you know, what was your road into entertainment? You know, what was your first job?
Well, honestly, it was, so I got to film school. I had the good fortune here. I'll pump up the Canadian government. I had the good fortune of being the last year in Ontario to have grade 13, and I got it completely accredited in college. So I had like an extra year where I was done a little early. Yeah, it was great. So I was able to start working while I was still in class because I was finishing up. So
yeah,
I just started pounding the pavement, and it was literally like a list of all the top people I would love to work with, etc. And I just started, you know, pounding the pavement, and Evans was the top of my list. And lo and behold, I got a bite.
That's amazing.
Yeah. You want to hear something even funnier? After I started working for him, it was at least 9 months before I met my employer. Yeah, it was like Charlie's Angels. There were no beautiful women though. It was Charlie's Angels. Yeah. So that was it. That was my short resume. It's film school, Evans. So it was
that's amazing.
Yeah, they wrote, I leave class and drive up to Paramount. I mean, it was a trip.
Wow. Yeah, that's really
So,
lucky. I mean, that's that does not happen that way very often.
yeah, it really, it doesn't, but it's sort of, I felt like if you align yourself with people you're creatively in sync with, etc., it's just,
Right.
I don't know. It's all those films inspired me. And it was like when I walked into the office, it's like, oh my God, look at these posters, monumental films.
Yeah.
It's a cool legacy to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're in development. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, how would you describe your job?
So basically, when I was working for Evans, it was finding the projects, developing the scripts, getting the directors, the actors, all those elements, the moving parts. So
Right.
it was sort of bringing it together. Yeah, but it's so much of it too is timing. It's dependent on, like, we may have the best draft, the best attachments, the financing falls through. One
Right.
thing, oh, we can't get a bond. It could be the smallest thing that brings it apart. So constantly juggling. It's like having, what is the spin plates is always the analogy, or things on the back
Yep.
burner. Juggling, and you never know when these things come into play. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the long development ones we had. Oh God, I don't know, but it could take God knows how long. For example, one I'm trying to finish now. We've been developing a biopic on Orson Welles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that was our final project. It was a huge passion project for Evans and myself, and it's sort of, timing wasn't right before, but we had a lot of the elements there, which I hope I'll be able to divulge soon. But it's the later years of Wells, and it's something that's very. I don't know if you've seen some of the recent things on Netflix and other. There's really sort of a renaissance, and I thought perfect timing because we had been developing this right before, right? So, I always say it's a strange job because it's right brain, left brain. It be the most creative, working the most creative aspect possible. Story notes, this, that, and then you get a phone call from a financier, and you have to take that, go back, this, that. Kind of an odd, very odd job. But yeah, I say there was very little actually in film school that prepped me for that, especially being in a studio, because everything is so specific. Yeah. And the shorthand, it's like they have their own way of doing things. When I started at Paramount, it was still it felt like the old school studio system days, in the sense that what Google does now, they had every amenity on lot, so you never had to leave.
Right.
So they had 2 salons, they have several dining options. What did they used to have a photo lab, like everything. Oh, there was a shoe repair guy on the lot. I was like, this is incredible. This is like the 1930s. I felt like I stepped back in time, but that changed like pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't know, seeing the sort of grandeur of Hollywood is it's fascinating, and developing at that level.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. So I know you can't give much away, but do you have an actual person playing Orson Welles in those later years, or is it more of a documentary style? Okay, you do.
No, yeah, exactly, and it's going to be something. The examples I keep using, Ed Wood meets Birdman, to get a sense. So, yeah, it is not by. It's not RKO 281 or like the upcoming Mank. It's not in that vein. It's very irreverent.
Yeah, that's awesome. Orson Welles is one of my favorites. That's terrific.
Yeah, it's really I say was fascinating, because what happens when you peak at 26?
Right.
And I don't deride his later films. I love them. Some of my favorites are the later ones, but to have the studio at your disposal like that, never made a film, make whatever you want, and then have to scrounge essentially to make films for the rest of your life, it's fascinating.
Yeah. He had a really interesting kind of career trajectory. You know, it's really strange. But yeah, that's got to be a really. I'll look forward to that one. Do we know when that one's coming out?
Well, depending how quickly we can put it together, I think we can shoot it pretty soon. The script's in a great place. It's funny because the script, and this is the ultimate example of things coming together years later. The script was written and developed by a dear friend of mine who I've for 30 years. We grew up in Canada together. Daniel, it's actually his birthday today. He wrote this script. Birthday. Yeah, right. By the time this airs, who knows? But
yeah, right.
For the record, we record it, right? But we developed it from scratch and said the one thing, the question I wanted to explore here was what happens when the boy genius grows up.
Right.
But sorry, so I went a little off track. The ultimate long, wait for this was that he said when we started this, and I forgot about it, he said, I remember back when we were kids, and all our friends, they'd have posters up on the wall, these like pinup girls, Playboy Playmate, whoever was hot at the moment. You had a poster of Orson Welles up. And I said, I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah. And it was like, and all these years later, it just kind of came together. It was our passion for this. We just wanted to do it. And then Bob got so excited and we dove right in. And, hopefully we'll pull this together and it'll be his last gift to the cinematic world.
Yeah. I'm sure it will. That sounds awesome. That sounds really good. So what's the go ahead.
Oh, so sorry. I was going to say another one of his final projects that's coming. You might have talked, I don't know if you've talked about it on the show before, you're aware of it, but Paramount is a reboot of The Saint.
I have heard that. Yeah, I have heard that. So you're talking about, are you talking, let's see, The Saint was,
the Leslie Charters, the
Val
Roger
Kilmer
Moore.
Did that one, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was the Roger Moore.
Yeah. And it was, at that time, it was always meant, I think, to be, multiple films. And it just never really took off. But I mean, the ingredients always, to me, seem to be there. So that's really exciting, actually.
Yeah. And there were dozens of books. I mean, it was a great series. And then the Roger Moore TV series was great. So Paramount's doing an approach. This is, one of his final productions, an approach that's more in line with that. And Lorenzo Di Bonaventura is producing, Mark Verratti, and fantastic producer. Of course, they've done Transformers together and whatnot. As of right now, Chris Pine starring. So
I was going to say, I'm pretty busy, but I mean, if you didn't have anybody, I guess I could do it. I mean,
exactly.
But yeah, Chris Pine would be. I mean, he fits. That's perfect. He fits that. Really
and he's got the charisma. Yeah, for sure. Great series. The Saint is just phenomenal, and so we'll see what happens. Anybody
that can play James Kirk.
Yeah, those are shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. So that's those are two really terrific projects. Now, what I was going to ask you is, what's the difference in what you do in development and just I shouldn't say just, it's a pretty big job, but a producer?
Well, basically, I think, when a producer hits such a high level that the company has so many moving parts, it's really like all these projects. I mean, even a lot of talent now, a lot of actors with deals at studios have a crazy amount of projects set up. And you don't even realize, you'll see credits. Wait, EP so-and-so, whatever actor. Yeah, and it's like, wow, they have all these.
Yeah, you see it all the time. Yeah, it's just like it doesn't, they're not mentioned or it doesn't seem like they're involved in any way, but then you'll see executive producer, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So the development would just be very specifically that part of the process. Okay. I admit it's hilarious. I'll come to the part where, we're getting close to shooting and it becomes, who's handling, for a pre-sale. So, this actor means X amount in China or whatever it is. Yeah. That stuff, to me, that's really inside baseball stuff that's so far removed from my process. But it's different. It's just like it's all very specific. So yeah, development, it's always the earliest part of the process, like right up until production, basically.
Yeah. So have you
which
ever
is so
thought?
much fun. Yeah.
I was gonna say, have you ever thought about moving in front of the camera, getting out from behind the scenes and doing some acting work?
Oh my God, no, I'm a horrible actor. I'll tell you
Me
a
too.
very funny story. Okay, this one I have never told before. So many years ago, in 2006, I think it was, I was working for Evans, and I owed someone at the studio a favor.
Yeah.
And she called. She said, "Hey Jay, listen, I because she was in locations on the lot for studio rentals, and she said, Jay, I need a favor. We're doing a shoot. I need something like an old timey Hollywood office to shoot." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, let me see. I'll check." And we checked, and we said, "Okay." Evan said, "What's it for?" "It's for Entourage." "Entourage? What's Entourage?" "It's a show Mark Wahlberg produces." "Okay, fine. How much?" "I forget how much it was." Blah blah. "All right, make it higher. Tell them I want blah blah." Okay, they came, got the money, came to do the shoot. So they came to do the shoot, and my coworker at the time, they called and they said, "Oh, by the way, we want him to be in this scene. We'll pay the scale, whatever the rate is. It would be in the scene. It's a non-speaking part, and he's going to play the assistant to the fake Brad Gray character, because Gray was the president of Paramount at the time. The fake Brad Gray character." And my friend was so excited. He said, "This is awesome. I'm going to hit the big time. This is like, oh, huge." And he got all ready. He was pumped up for it for days and days and days. I'm at home in bed because I'm like, this is great. They're shooting in the office. I have the day off. This is going to be wonderful. One of the other movies. And I get a call from him. His voice completely flat. He said, "They wanted you." I said, "What?" And he said, "They wanted you." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "They got the names wrong. Come down here right now." And I said, "Oh."
Oh.
So I got down there. Yeah. So I got down there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Jay, there you are. Okay. Yeah, come on in." They said, "Oh no." I said, "What do you want me to wear?" They said, "Oh yeah, that shirt you were wearing the other day, the blazer." And I said, "Okay, I think I have it in my car." So I went and grabbed it, put it on. I did the scene. It was horrible. That was where I was going. It was absolutely horrible. But I got on there. Someone caught me on it years later, and they said, "What the hell?" They said, "What was that shirt you were wearing on Entourage?" I said, "That gray, the Lacoste shirt." I said, "The Lacoste, the pink Lacoste shirt." And I said, "What do you mean, the gray shirt?" They said, "No." And I went back and looked, and I asked whoever I was with, I said, "Is that pink?" They said, "Yeah, hot pink." I'm colorblind. They wanted me because I looked so ridiculous. The day that they met me to scout, I was wearing a hot pink shirt and a tweed jacket. So I guess the comic for like a sight gag, they threw me in there. So that's my.
I have to go back and find that because we watched that show, so I'm sure I've seen it.
I'll tell you exactly the scene. They go to the fake Paramount. No, it's Paramount with the fake Brad Gray. They go to pitch a Ramones biopic, and Martin Landau is their producing partner. So I will say this: you can never take that away. I did do a scene with Bela Lugosi because Ed Wood is one of my favorites. So doing a scene with Martin Landau was cool.
That's amazing.
In one shot. I got a check for it, so it was fun.
Yeah, no, I would love to do that. Yeah, big Martin Landau fan. Space 1999. That was the one I enjoyed watching him in. But yeah, that's a great story. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. See, now the difference in you and me is that if I had been in that, I'd be living off of that scene forever. I would never let anybody forget that scene.
No, you would have.
I'd be like, "Hey,"
right? You would have been smart enough to get a line and get your SAG card, and you'd probably be getting residual. I got the one-off check,
Oh. Yeah. So you don't get the residuals, right? You just get the one-off.
Right,
if you don't have your SAG card. Yeah.
Line. It's all about the one line.
You got to get that one line. You probably could have. You could have pitched that to them. I bet they'd have given you a line.
Had I known.
Well, if you'd known you were, more of a comedy relief, that might have helped you. Then you could have pitched for a line. Yeah. Although it's kind of funny that you thought you were more of a serious role.
Oh, but I have a punchline to the story. I didn't even this
Yeah.
Yes, this is great. This is great. So later, this literally this was not worth it because it gave me an ulcer. Because a month or two later, whenever it aired, Evans decided he wanted to sue Entourage, the creator, the producers of. Yeah, it was in the trades and everything. If you go back, I never heard the end of it. So upset. And I said, well, wait, you agreed. I said, I negotiated an incredible rate for this. But yeah, so not only that, I looked ridiculous in a hot pink shirt. I got an ulcer as a result. But yeah, I took that as a sign.
Yeah, that may be a sign that you should stay, behind.
Stay behind. Yeah.
Do you write, or do you write scripts, or do you help with that part of it?
I don't. I love the process of because I love story. That's really what I'm interested in. Like someone asked me once, and I thought, it's just the storytelling part of the process. It's just incredible to me. Like in any form. That's why it's really exciting now. All this new media. And these opportunities to tell, like I think Quibi was really onto something, but timing, of course, was odd.
Yeah.
But it's. I mean, look at where we are now with, and I know I'm going off track here about writing.
It's all right. It's really interesting,
right? Because I think here I'll try to tie it in. I think now a lot of writers are more attracted to like TV because of the long form format. Because if you think about it, 20 years ago, it was all sitcoms or procedurals because they didn't want you to rely on having to watch every show like a soap opera. So it didn't really matter if I missed 3 Seinfeld episodes, it doesn't matter at all. If I missed 3 of Lost, then you'd be,
you're lost.
Exactly. So I think it was, when these DVD box sets came out, it kind of changed everything.
Yeah.
But
it's
deciding the high level writers. Yeah. But I can't write. I love the process of storytelling. So this is the closest I can get.
All right. So I've got a let's say I've got I don't know, a TV show idea or a script.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Does that come through your company? Does that go through you? How does that, how do you find your projects? I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
I would say, honestly, this is the advice that I was given. And it was something Evans always said that was brilliant, which he said, property is king. And it's really sort of like, if you have the piece of material to build from, whatever it is, that's the way to go because you can write your own ticket. So I would say it's sort of, it depends if you're developing an original, like you an original concept. The first thing I would normally do is look out there, see if there's something in that vein and think, okay, is this competition immediately going to trump my project? If it's not, then it becomes, okay, how do I protect myself before I go out? I tell everyone, just register with the Writers Guild of America.
That's right.
Something like $30 and you're protected.
Yeah, I've learned about that. You got to register the scripts. I've learned about that.
Yeah, definitely. Because it happens really all the time where, something is pitched, there's sort of a loose arrangement, blah, 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 and then someone doesn't get credit or whatever it is. It makes that a lot easier. But I, also say source material is important if let's say you wanted to write a bio. Okay, for example, I was doing a John DeLorean biopic that sadly never came to fruition.
Yeah.
But we kind of reverse engineered that one because the writer, Thomas Fenton, is a fantastic writer. He's actually known for horror. He did Saw 4, but he wrote a hell of a script on John DeLorean. And to get started on it, optioned his script, started getting it out to cast, but we had no source material. So when we did that, we just went out and we found the most appropriate book to option. But the script was not based in any way on the book. So I think it's sort of like, if you're doing something, let's say on a public figure or something that someone else easily pick up and do as well. Like anyone else could have said, I'm going to do a John movie, and there's nothing you can do to stop them.
Right.
Then I'd say something to protect yourself. Yeah, some piece of material, something in that vein. But
Well,
it
you
could be
see that.
anything. I mean,
I mean, you see that sometimes, right? That where you'll have
yeah.
different studios developing basically the same project. I mean, we had that years ago. We had a couple Robin Hood movies came out together. You had the
Yeah.
Wyatt Earp and Tombstone came out around the same time. So it's
Oh yeah, Armageddon and Deep Impact.
yeah, Deep Impact. That's right. That's right.
Right. Oh God, yeah, it happens all the time. Ants in a Bug's Life.
Yeah,
That one was very specific though. It was because
it
Jeffrey
was.
Katzenberg left Disney and started
Yeah.
DreamWorks at the time. So
Yeah, that one was interesting, and they came out right around the same time.
right around they always come in hurts like
Yeah.
this. But
It's
it's
really
sort of
interesting.
it's sort of like what's out there, what kind of material do you have, and does it attract talent? Because I always say some of these things you can try to predict the trends all day long, but if you have something that's solid material, it's really, people forget the fact that film's ultimately a creative thing. It's the film business, but if you make a great piece of art, it will appeal to the artist you're going to work with, to someone who is like-minded. So I think if it's good, it doesn't really matter if it's time. But yeah, and I think if you can also, my favorite director is Kubrick. I think Kubrick easily, most people would agree, greatest filmmaker. But Hitchcock is someone I admire greatly because he made movies that were firmly rooted in pop culture, but you can read them on such a level if you so desire.
Right.
So it's like he really balanced that. And Wells did Citizen Kane.
Yeah.
Where it's it's incredible if you can do that. So yeah, like Evans did it with The Godfather. He made a gangster picture that was so highbrow it was like an opera. Right.
Right.
So, or like The Exorcist, a horror movie. Billy Friedkin made a horror movie that's like an incredible work of art. So yeah.
You talked about The Exorcist causing you some issues early on after you watched it too early. The movie for me was Dressed to Kill.
Oh
yeah, remember that one? And
I
there's a shower scene in there that starts out for a teenage boy. You're like, hey, this is all right, but it ends very graphically. And that movie scarred me for years. I had nightmares from that movie for forever. But a really, really good movie. Going back and watching it later, really, really good movie. I was trying to think if that was Kubrick. It seems like that.
No, it's De Palma.
De Palma. That's yeah. I was thinking it was Kubrick, but yeah, it was De Palma.
Yeah, I didn't see that one until I grew up, but I saw Body Double when I was a kid. I was like, this.
Oh, I love Body Double.
Yeah. So
I've been trying to track down. And I can't think of his name now, but the actor that starred in that, he doesn't act anymore. But I'd love to have him on the show.
Too. And the guy who's the heavier, his friend, is the guy who's in every De Palma movie.
Yeah. I love Body Double. And that's one it was Melanie Griffith, I think, was the girl, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. That's a fun movie. Yeah.
And it had the great house on the hill in Los Angeles, Hemisphere. I think that's what it's called. It's John Lautner or some famous architect. Yeah,
I think that's right.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So, how have you been handling this whole pandemic and quarantine and the fires and all the stuff you have going on? How has that changed?
Yeah.
What you're doing and what you're going to do in the short term.
Well, it's funny because I said I've started to become like Howard Hughes without the money, but I didn't. It's like, it hasn't changed my work process too much. It's just cut out having to go to upscale restaurants to do project meetings, which I never enjoyed anyway.
Are you Zooming?
I'm more of a homebody. Yeah, it's great. It's just Zoom now. So yeah. But it's been a fun challenge for me to figure out pitches, right? Because so much of this is pitch meetings. And as you can imagine, and, having like gone solo less than a year ago, all my projects are very early in the process. So pitches are key to me. So when it was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to get in the room anywhere to pitch for months when this started, I'm happy to say people have adapted, and there are a lot of virtual pitches now.
Yeah.
So, but figuring out how to put one of those together is another story.
Yeah,
that's how it's changed.
Yeah, I think my opinion is a lot of that stuff's not going to go back 100% to the way it was before. I know a lot of actors now are, doing their auditions from home. Instead of going in, they're recording their auditions and sending those in. And I got a feeling, I mean, that's much cheaper than having somebody, having face-to-face meetings. So I could see that continuing at least somewhat. You don't necessarily have to be in the same city even, to get some of that done. Yeah. We're doing, so, our foray into producing is, we're good friends with an actress from the 80s and 90s, Jennifer Nash, and she writes now, and she has written an audio drama that's based around stories about how people are dealing with the pandemic. I sent her in my day job. I work in a hospital, so I'd send her in a story that I'd had there, and she turned that into an audio drama or a podcast, basically, kind of like what was the Amazon did the one with Julia Roberts, Homeland, or wasn't Homeland, with
Homecoming, was it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever it is, I didn't.
Whatever it is, yeah. But anyway, so we've had a surprisingly easy time finding a really good cast because everybody's looking for stuff to do. Yeah. So, we've got Ed Asner and Eric Roberts, Sherilyn Fenn, and, Allison Dunbar and Jennifer Elise Cox. And we had this big, like, never would have imagined that we could have got a cast like that. But it's because people are looking for something to do. And one thing you can do safely right now is podcasting and audio work. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm so glad you bring that up. I said the same thing to someone. I said, what you should do a table read of your script remotely, or do it as, and I'm so glad you said radio drama, as a radio drama. That's right.
Well, that's what I brought all of that. I brought up because that's why I was asking, have you thought about kind of going into some of that where you're doing more audio type of drama with the idea that, in a year or two, when things get back to normal, you could take that audio drama and kind of turn it into something?
I would love to do that personally. I've always been fascinated by radio and just the whole, like with this Orson Welles. I thought, man, what would be an incredible way to spend the downtime is put together like an approximation of War of the Worlds. Think about it. I thought,
be so fun.
The biggest thing about the pandemic is, for me, all I think of is, what would this luminary have thought of said events? You know what I mean? Right. So it's like, I always think these people, it's like, what would Kubrick, what would Ray Bradbury have thought? Yeah. Oh, and speaking of which, this is another one I have to plug. I'm working with Ray's biographer right now, Sam Weller. I don't know if you're familiar with Sam's work.
No, actually, I am a little bit. That's exciting.
Yeah, we tried to put together Fahrenheit with Evans at the time, but couldn't get it put together. So we're developing more things in the horror space, and also figuring out how to work in the pandemic element, because in a sense it lends itself to that. Like
it really does.
So
yeah. Well, you've got some really exciting projects.
You assembled that whole cast, the radio drama. That is so cool.
Yeah, really.
People are into that format, because I thought to myself, I wonder if actors are like, it's such a niche thing. That's really cool to hear.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. And it, we've been lucky that we've somehow, garnered an audience. My son and I started this, and we struggled so badly because neither one of us knew what we were doing. When we first started, it's been a couple of years ago, and every mistake that we made, we just left it in. Whatever we screwed up, we didn't fix it. We just left it in. And some way that actually grew an audience. I don't know if people just enjoyed seeing us screw it up or what. So then when we finally kind of got it, got our act together, we had a little bit of an audience, and we started having guests on the show, and that led to other guests and contacts. And then, I've been able to use some of that to reach out and get people to come, do this audio drama. So I was like, well, I'll try. It doesn't hurt to ask. And then, you get one, you get Ed Asner, and you can start saying, hey, Ed Asner's doing it. That tends to help.
Yeah.
You just need the one. You get the one name, and it tends to help. So but I was just curious because I haven't seen a ton of that out there, as far as there should be more.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, because I have so many of this. Scenes are written, we're ready to go. It's like, why not put something together that's using a different medium when we can? Yeah.
When you can, because it doesn't really keep you from redoing it, as a movie or a TV show or whatever you want to do it as. It should help, especially if you get names attached to it. You may not necessarily, those names, voices may not necessarily translate to the actor for a show or a series, but it might. You never know.
That's all it takes. One bite, one person. A famous example, of course, Reservoir Dogs. Harvey Keitel said, yes, that's all it took. His whole career took off from that one moment. That's unbelievable.
It really is. Yeah. And that's a terrific example. And look where he's at now. So that's
I've encouraged everyone who has projects, and if they're putting something together like yours, which is amazing, I encourage people to try to reach out to, people they want to work with or be involved, because they'd be amazed how many people are receptive, and especially right now.
Yeah.
Like these things you hear about old-timey Hollywood experiences. Oh, I opened the white pages, looked up so-and-so, called them, and then we end up working. That kind of stuff still happens, especially in the social media age. So I say just do it. What have you got to lose?
Nothing.
Pursue anything. Yeah. Stephen King famously grants options, I believe, to people, that he believes in. And it's that happened. So
it never hurts to, it's such a tough business, acting, the entertainment business in general. It's just very difficult. What you're doing, extremely difficult to get into and then to stay into it.
Right.
Especially without doing, 2 or 3 side jobs to try to kind of hang in there until something big hits. But it's really difficult. So what do you have to lose? You might as well reach out, and that's kind of, from what I've seen, my limited, exposure to the entertainment business is a lot of it is about connections and the people you meet that, know somebody else, and kind of that networking that takes place that, eventually leads you down a path to hopefully get something made.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It's really, whenever anyone says, oh yeah, Hollywood, it's all nepotism, I say, yeah, that's true. That is 100% true, but it's nepotism. As far as that can get you is your foot in the door. If you're completely inept and you're the kid of, whoever top person in the industry, if you are, then you're not going to succeed that much. So I think it really, it comes down to tenacity and having the patience of Job. It's really, it's the law of averages. If you keep trying, you'll hit. But it does come, it comes down a lot of it to who you know, but not necessarily in a bad way, because I think you're going to be with like-minded people creatively.
Right.
So it's fun to assemble and cherry pick and think, oh, I know so-and-so is looking for a project in this vein or that. And working with that in mind. Yeah.
What so you're off on your own now, right? You've got your own company that you're working with. What was, what led to that? What made you say, okay, I'm ready to go off on my own and kind of do this?
Well, when Evan passed away, it was of course, I had so many projects I was passionate about in the midst of this and that. Extremely disheartening, and it was I didn't know what I had to regroup and figure out what, first of all, what the future, the things we had would be, but also where to go from there. And I what I ultimately decided was just, look, I want to finish these things because I think there'd be a great coda, but then also try to use the same sort of mandate, taste, etc., and through line in the films, I would be starting afresh from there. So to keep that consistency in a sense, because I thought long and hard, I thought, the types of pictures I've been working on all these years, I thought, what's the common thread? Because the genres were all over the place. And I thought, in essence, they're mostly genre pictures that have like a highbrow element,
right,
like making a subversive, like for example, right now I'm working on what I call a socially conscious thriller.
okay,
So it's imagine Assault on Precinct 13 meets Marriage Story, set during the pandemic. Yeah, so it's like a hipster horror movie, right?
That's
but
awesome.
I thought, I thought we can do it as a Trojan horse, tell a very story as a siege movie, as a thriller. And by the way, is written by a very talented guy, Boaz Dror, who's doing something for Jack Black at CBS right now.
Oh, nice.
But which is, by the way, it is a noir retelling of the story of Noah's Ark. Imagine Chinatown and Noah's Ark with anthropomorphic.
I love the combinations you're putting together. That's amazing.
I know. I can't help it. But your point being, so I kept that in mind when developing this project, because I thought we tell things that are very socially relevant right now as an exciting movie that doesn't beat you over the head, but it's sort of I want to do something like Straw Dogs,
Yeah.
A movie that's exciting, but also you make it big. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that's good for you. That's great, and it sounds like it's going really well. You've got some great projects.
Yeah, things have been good.
Yeah, that's great.
I just try to, I try to tell everyone, if you are starting out trying, one of the best examples I always say is Smith's story. That's the way to do it. Max out the credit cards. If you believe in something so much, just do it. Right now is the perfect time. I think 30 years ago, if you go back, there's it might have been in Hearts of Darkness, but something, Mrs. Coppola's interviewed, and he starts talking about the future of filmmaking and how now the accessibility to cameras, editing software, anyone can make the next great American film.
Right.
I mean, the tools are there. So it's exciting, I think.
It is exciting. You're right.
Yeah.
That's that's true. I mean, it's you don't have to have a ton of technology or a budget. If you've got a good script or a good idea, you can put something together. It's happened. And I think it's happening more and more, and probably will with this nonsense we're going through right now. I think the days of the larger budgeted films based around special effects, they won't be gone, but they may be lessened a little bit. Maybe we'll focus more on writing and storytelling, character development. I hope. I think that would be a good positive result of some of this.
I feel optimistic about that. I think if the best comparison is if you look back at the film business in the late 60s, early to mid 70s, like everything the book Easy Riders, Raging Bulls is about, it was really a time of crisis for the studios, because they were making these big bid, Sound of Music type movies with diminishing returns. And then the independents were coming out, and they're thinking, how the hell is Easy Rider a smash? That was Billy Jack, a huge smash. They had to rethink everything. So I think we're with streaming, with the pandemic, all of this, I think they have to reevaluate, but it would be a very positive thing instead of a negative. Yeah. Because I think event pictures are still going to be there, but the sort of more prestige stuff is what's taking off. So it's great.
Yeah, that's great. Well, James, hey, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I apologize if I rambled, but it was good to get it out.
No, it was really good. It was stuff I'm really interested in. It's great kind of seeing behind the scenes with what you do. I think it's such a fascinating job. So that's been great. Before you go though, where are you on social media? Where can our listeners and viewers find out more about you, your company, what you're doing?
Oh, sure. It is my Instagram handle is an anagram of my name. It's Jesus Jesus Mikara, Mikara.
I love it.
That sounds super like narcissistic or something, but it is literally the only anagram of my name. I put it in a website and everything to do it for me. So that's all I could come up with that. And then my production company is irascal.org. IRASCAL.org. And I know it's a weird name, but my then 2-year-old son coined it. I couldn't resist. It reminded me of I Claudius. You got to do it. I'll blame him.
well, as he grows up, he's going to enjoy knowing that he came up with that.
I hope so. Yeah, I think it's funny because I thought my kids will never understand how cool it was to grow up running around playing at Paramount Studios, all this. Right. You know, I thought that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, James, yeah, thank you so much. And please, you have to come back when you get some of these projects getting ready to come out. You got to come back and talk about them, because I know how it is. You can't do it now, but yeah, I'd love to hear about it.
That's the deal.
All right. Well, hang on a second. I'll hit pause.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, sir. I've been looking forward to this, and we kept having to put it off. I'm so glad we got to finally do it.
As am I.
All right. So that was James Sikura. What a great guy. That was, yeah, I was expecting that to be a good interview. It was even better than I thought. I mean, I love what he does. That just sounds like absolutely the best job, and so fun. And every project that he mentioned just sounded incredible. So looking forward to having him back and talking about some of these projects in detail. You know, a lot of times you gotta get further down the road before you can really let out the information about them, but they sound terrific. So what a great guy, and so nice to hang in there when we had to reschedule a few times. So just terrific, absolutely terrific. So happy to have him on the program. Thank you everybody for taking the time to watch and to listen. Yeah, I know you have a lot of choices out there. Really appreciate you putting us on the playlist. Hope you continue to come back. We're trying to put out great content with really interesting guests. So I hope you are enjoying that. Please check us out on Facebook under MeisterCon. Check out our website, meistercon.com. There's some really great stuff on there. Brett is doing some really fun, funny blogs that I think you'll enjoy. So check that out. We're in the process of building our podcasting studio. Bought the building. Just have to, soundproof it, get the furniture, paint it, do all that fun stuff. So we can definitely use the help. If you want to support the program, check us out at patreon.com/MeisterCon. We'll give you some early access and some fun bonus material for your trouble. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye.